Fans of the Horus Heresy, thank you very much for joining me again for the second part of my build and model review of the Land Raider Armoured Proteus by Forge World, and I'm calling this video The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, because that is what best characterises the experience that I've had in assembling and building this tank. So, let's start with the good. Let's start with the Clint Eastwood of this model. The good with this tank is the final finished look of the model, and let's be honest, this is a great looking vehicle. The Land Raider Armoured Proteus, as I described in the original video, is a reboot of the original plastic Land Raider from the late 80s, when Warhammer 40,000 was in its original Rogue Trader guise. And in 2011, Forge World released two new models, the Land Raider Proteus and the Land Raider Armoured Proteus, both of which were based on that original plastic kit. The Land Raider Proteus was pretty much a straight copy or straight update, whereas the Armoured Proteus added these armoured sponsons and also this hull-mounted weapons position. And it's this hull-mounted weapons position that really drew me to this model. And as you can see, I've converted the twin-link las cannon in place of the heavy bolter. And the reason for this is the recent update to the Space Marine Legion list introduced a number of new weapon options to this turret, one of which is a twin-link las cannon. So, well, what's not to like about a Land Raider with three twin-link las cannons? So that's why I bought it. Let's get a closer look then at some of the lovely detail and look of this vehicle. So yeah, it looks really imposing from the get-go. I've used a number of upgrade components on this model. So we have a set of smoke launchers here. That's a plastic component. I think those are from the Land Raider Crusader sprue. Here we have a machine spirit, or perhaps mechanicum badge from the Iron Hands etch brass icon set. Let's just get a close up on that. So what I've done is I've stuck that onto this door as a bit of additional iconography. It looks really good. That's just a bit of blue tack holding the door on at the moment. Continue round. We've got the power pack, which is very nicely detailed, and then we have some underside detail as well, which is a nice addition to the tank. Coming around to the other side of the sponson, another upgrade piece. This door here is from the Iron Hands Rhino doors upgrade set, and I bought this door because my original inspiration for this tank, aside from the armament, was a picture of one from Horus Heresy Book 2 Massacre, I believe. And it looked really good in the Iron Hands colours under the icon door, and it's a look I decided to recreate. Yeah, so coming around to the front, got the dozer blade. That's a lovely nod to the original design, and also this transmission unit as well. And if I just remove the turret and the cupola, we can see one other upgrade icon. This tank comes with an Aquila to mount on the glacis plate, but I don't want my Iron Hands Legion to bear the Aquila. I want them in the pre-Ullanor style. So instead of that, I put this plaque bearing the word Ferrous, taken from the Iron Hands Legion icon set. And also, in the style of removing Aquilas, the Rhino door is a 40k version, and you can see where I've used milliput to cover the Aquila that's part of that Iron Hand. That's not quite finished yet. There's some sanding and smoothing work to do there. Talking of the turret, I have shown you this before, but just a quick refresher. So this was the twin link las cannon. I grafted these two las cannons onto the original heavy bolter mounting. I was really very pleased with how that came out. It looks really authentic, I feel. Very pleased with that. And then the final upgrade part on this tank is on the commander's cupola, where I've added a heavy bolt gun from the Space Marine Pintle weapons set. And that looks good. And it's got this drum magazine as well, which looks really neat. If we just carefully take that hatch off, I put a pin running from the back of the cupola into the cupola mount here to give it additional strength, because these are quite prone to pinging off. I don't glue my cupolas on for transport purposes, and it also allows me to swap weapons between Land Raiders. What I do is I stick a small resin spacer on the back, super glue it in place, and just file it down to get a good fit. And the reason I do that is it makes it a really firm push fit, so it won't fall off when you're using the tank in game. And then finally, just to look down on the upper hull detail, you've got a commander station, a targeting array, and then the engine deck as well. So yes, there you have it, the Land Raider Armoured Proteus. A really nice looking vehicle, and you know, I'm really pleased with how it turned out looks wise. So that is the good. So let's move this guy back and talk about the bad. So what was the bad? The bad with this kit is the instructions. So the Land Raider Armoured Proteus comes with the old style photocopy instructions. There's a component list, build step 1 and then build step 2. There's 2 faults on these instructions that can lead you to make mistakes when you're building it, which I don't think is good. So the first of these is in the component listing. So you can see part 14 here. If we go to the list of parts, we have 14 is sponson turrets times 2. If we look at the assembly section, it has right sponson and sponson turret going on the side, and then adding the excuse me, remaining parts of the sponson. What it doesn't tell you is these 2 sponson turrets they're not symmetrical, and they're slightly the aperture for mounting the twin link las cannon is slightly offline. And there's nothing in the instructions to warn you about that. Unless you notice it, it's very easy to assemble the tank and get your las cannons out of line on each side of a tank, and then the gun, if you want the las cannons to traverse, they can't traverse in the same way on both sides of the vehicle. So yeah, that's a really poor oversight, and yeah, the instructions should be better than that. And then I said there was 2 faults on the instructions, and the second of these relates to the attachment of the hull, the assembled hull unit. So you kind of build the inner hull, and then you stick it onto the track units. Now you see here it says road wheel housing. It doesn't tell you what order in which you should assemble that, and it kind of gives you the impression you put the hull on and you do that. If you put the hull on to a track unit without attaching the road wheel housing, you can't actually fit it, because there's various details that prevent you actually getting that part in. And of course, once you've put the hull on, and if you're working with super glue type adhesives, the bond with the resin is extremely strong, and it's very difficult to remove. And indeed, this is what happened to me. I assembled it and realised I had 2 parts I couldn't get in, so I had to drop them in some boiling water, soften them, and then reattach them. Well, push them in into here, and sort of spread them out and get them fitted again. So yeah, but why they can't just make that clear in the instructions is beyond me. And you know, it should be clear. So yeah, that is the bad on this kit. The instructions are brief to the point of being misleading. And when you look at the price of this kit at £96, I think it is now, it doesn't matter that this is an old kit. There's no excuse for Forge World providing such inaccurate and poor quality instructions. So they really need to address that. So that's the bad. Now, finally, moving on to the ugly. So what is the ugly? Well, the ugly is the fit and finish of this kit. To say that building this tank was tricky is to pass up a good opportunity to use the word deeply frustrating, or the phrase deeply frustrating. It was incredibly hard work building this tank. There are so many errors with the fit and finish, it is unreal. So let me go through these because there's quite a few. Right, first relates to the hull. Come on, focus, there we go. Right, this bit here, see there's this notch that gives way to this axle pin. That's not big enough. If you align the hull properly, so all these parts here line up, and you get proper spacing all the way around on an equal space on both sides, that pin is in the way of this unit and you end up with a gap on your hull. So I had to cut this notch about an extra 3 millimeters, 2 or 3 millimeters in size, so it would actually fit. So that is the first ugly. Second ugly, I talked about in my video to do with Forge World quality and my original part 1 review of this kit, which was to do with the track units not fitting, sorry, the tracks not fitting the track units. Excuse me. So yes, that is a second problem, and as I said in my original video, that took a lot of time and effort to put right. So, are there more? Well, yes, there are. The third problem is to do with the sponsons, and the sponsons do not fit the track units properly. When you put the sponsons on, as they come straight out of the mould, this part here will jut forward around 2 to 3 millimeters, and it won't be lined up. As you can see, the corner is lined up with that armour plate there. And if we look on the instructions, that is exactly how it's supposed to be. And indeed, when you have it in that position, all the interior guides and plates line up on the lascannon sponson. So what I had to do was I had to cut all the mounting guides and ridges inside the sponson. I had to cut them away, excuse me, so I could move the sponson back and align it with this rear armour plate here, so it would actually fit. Yeah, so it took, I mean, hours and hours of work to do that, and just, you know, why? I actually have a theory as to why this is, and this is based on a conversation I had with a friend of mine who used to work at a Games Workshop and has seen the Forge World casting process. Right, remember, these tracks are too big and these sponsons are too big. So the thought is that at some point the actual track unit itself has been recast. However, the original master copy of the unit has been lost, and it's been recast from a production model. Every time you cast one of these, you lose a small amount of size. The part gets a little bit smaller as a result of creating a new mold. Excuse me. So it could well be the case that at some point the masters of the track units have been lost, and they've resumed moulding off production models, and hence why this the track unit seems to be too small to both the tracks and the sponsons. We out of uglies? Nope, no, not at all. There's lots more. Right, the next thing are the sponson clamps. So, one sponson clamp here. So that fits properly, snug fit. This one, no, enormous gap. These two, no, enormous gaps. Sloppy, very sloppy. You can imagine at this point, I spent an enormous amount of time building this kit. You know, I've not spent this long building anything bar a Titan. It was ridiculous. And at this point, I thought, well, I've beat it. It's built. What else could, I'm on the home straight. Early this week, these nice icon doors arrived. I got it out of the pack, I tried to put it on, and it didn't fit. The icon door was about 1 millimetre too large for the door aperture. So I had to go in and I had to recut the bottom of the door aperture to allow this to fit, like so, and it does fit, and but only just. And I also had to sand as much material off the top and bottom of that door as possible to get it to fit. So yeah, poor parts compatibility size-wise there. You know, a lot of work required to get that to fit. So yes, there is the ugly part of this, and believe me, it was ugly. If I'd known the amount of time this was going to take to build when I first bought it, I wouldn't have touched it with a barge pole. It was only through sheer bloody mindedness that I saw it through to the finish. So, can I recommend this kit to you? Originally, I said this was a cautious recommendation. Well, I'm changing that. I don't recommend this kit to you now. To get it looking good and looking as it should do, there's just too much work involved. This kit is, there's two things that this kit needs. Firstly, Forge will need to redo the instructions. That's very simple. They could do that in a day, and they could remove the confusion around how to assemble it. That's the first thing. The second thing is they need to look at the fit of some of these parts, because they're just not there. And these track units in particular seem to be problematic. So there you have it. The Land Raider Armoured Proteus by Forge World. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this slight rant. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. As always, thank you very much for listening. I'll speak to you next time, and goodbye.